Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are serving up something truly special. We're going to extract the absolute core essence of business and life success from four extraordinary and, frankly, pretty cutthroat street food case studies. The streets are really the ultimate testing ground for any business. There's zero corporate safety net out there, absolutely no massive marketing budget. It is just pure strategy, pure grit, and the immediate, sometimes brutal feedback of the customer. So if you want to know what it actually takes to survive and thrive when the heat is literally on, well, you're in exactly the right place. So let's just dive right into our menu for today. We are going to kick things off with Honesty's Victory, followed by Legacy and Hard Work. Then we're going to look at a highly unique way to fitness, dive into innovation versus ego, and finally wrap the whole shebang up with the core mantras of success. All right, let's move right into our first case study, which is all about Honesty's Victory. So picture this. We have a classic ethical dilemma. There's Karan, who is this incredibly hardworking cook, and his boss, Kapadia. Now, Kapadia got greedy. He started forcing Karan to use these cheap, heavily adulterated ingredients just to pump up his profit margins. But Karan knew this wasn't just going to taste terrible. It was legitimately bad for the customer's health. Refusing to compromise his integrity, Karan made a super bold move. He just flat out quit. He took his mother's hard-earned savings, and he started his own humble street cart. Karan's food was absolutely incredible, and naturally, he quickly started drawing a huge crowd. But his old boss, Kapadia, was furious at losing his best cook and seeing him succeed. So, Kapadia maliciously spread false rumors that Karan was actually the one using unhealthy ingredients. Karan's business tanked overnight. But here is where it gets absolutely brilliant. Following the advice of one of his most loyal customers, a retired colonel, Karan implemented this radical strategy. He put up a simple sign. It literally just read, "Pay into the box based on the taste and quality of the paratha," a completely trust-based, pay-what-you-want model. And wow, does this illustrate how trusting your customers can completely flip the game? Because Karan was offering true, honest quality. People actually started paying way more than what he would have charged in the first place. And if someone couldn't pay, he just fed them anyway, with a smile. The massive customer loyalty he built up allowed him to upgrade from a tiny street cart to a full-fledged dhaba. And as for his deceitful competitor, Kapadia, he completely lost his entire customer base and went bankrupt. Honesty wasn't just some nice moral choice here. It was literally the ultimate competitive advantage. Okay, moving on to our second story, Legacy and Hard Work. This one centers around a young guy named Ajay. He was left with absolutely nothing after his father, who was a really beloved local caterer named Ramnath, suddenly passed away. Looking at Ajay's rapid scaling, it was fueled by just pure, unadulterated hustle. With zero capital to his name, he actually sold his own motorcycle just to afford a single street food cart. But from that one little cart, he eventually scaled all the way up to supplying a major hotel chain and finally launched a massive statewide catering empire. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth did he jump from a tiny street cart to an empire? Well, his massive success hinged on one very specific asset, a unique inherited recipe from his father known as the cheese pillow paratha. People went crazy for this stuff. Customers were literally telling him, "I've been searching for this exact taste for 5 years." The brand loyalty tied to his father's specific recipe was just off the charts. Ajay didn't try to reinvent the wheel here. He smartly capitalized on the proven, deeply beloved legacy his father had already built. But he didn't just stop at that one cart. Ajay recognized the exploding demand, so he immediately started hiring unemployed local youth. He taught them his father's recipe and opened up multiple street carts all across the area. By combining that powerful family legacy with sheer hard work and a real commitment to community empowerment, Ajay achieved massive scale. And in doing so, he ultimately fulfilled his father's lifelong dream of owning a large-scale catering business. Next up, we have our third case study, which is honestly a bit wild. It's a unique way to fitness. So this involves a mechanic named Nagaraj. He was incredibly lazy. He'd take advance payments for jobs, but then just sleep and eat biryani all day long. His clients were beyond angry. They were totally desperate. So they actually hired an intense street vendor named Bhuvan to implement a forced weight loss program. Step 1, capture Nagaraj. Step 2, literally tie the guy to a chair. Step 3, force feed him Bhuvan's zero-fat kulchas. I know. It sounds totally crazy. But according to the source material, for exactly 1 month, Nagaraj was held captive in a room. He was fed absolutely nothing but these zero-fat kulchas for all 3 meals every single day. All of his intense lethargy, which had been completely fueled by his terrible diet, was systematically targeted. But the revelation at the end of this is just brilliant. Those frustrated clients, they orchestrated and funded this entire agonizing diet just to cure Nagaraj's laziness. Once he was physically fit and his energy finally returned, he was released. And what do you think he did? He immediately went out and finished all the client projects he had been putting off for months. Now, obviously, we are absolutely not advocating for kidnapping your lazy contractors. Please don't do that. But the core takeaway here is deeply relevant. Bad health and terrible habits will absolutely ruin your business and alienate your clients. Your productivity is inextricably linked to your physical health. Sometimes breaking a vicious cycle of laziness really does require a drastic, disciplined intervention to finally get you off the couch and back to work.
All right, let's move to our fourth and final case study, innovation versus ego.
Here we have this incredibly fierce rivalry between a hotel owner named Kapadia and his head chef, Chawla, who was just insanely arrogant. When Kapadia asked him to slightly tweak the menu to attract more customers, Chawla took it as a massive personal insult. Out of pure spite, he intentionally oversalted the food to ruin it, and then he stormed off to open a rival shop with the village president. Kapadia was forced to shut his hotel down. But Kapadia didn't just give up. Where Chawla relied entirely on his ego and sabotage, Kapadia leaned into innovation. Back at home, Kapadia just started experimenting. He took some everyday instant Maggi noodles, but instead of boiling them in water, he boiled them in mango fruit juice. I know, it sounds strange, right? But he served it to his son, Chintu, who absolutely loved it, and even suggested adding real mango pieces when they were in season. Kapadia listened. He took this feedback, set up a small cart right in front of his rival's hotel, and started selling this mango Maggi. It went completely viral among the village kids, who then dragged all their parents over, which completely drained Chawla's rival hotel of all its customers. But Kapadia wasn't quite done. He masterfully used Chawla's own giant ego against him. Kapadia went to the president and just subtly warned him, saying, "Hey, Chawla's ego is huge. He's going to demand a higher salary soon." The president, who was already getting worried about the sudden drop in his customers, questioned Chawla about the food quality. And exactly as Kapadia predicted, Chawla's ego flared right up. Deeply insulted that he was even being questioned, Chawla started intentionally ruining the food at this new job too. The president was furious, fired Chawla on the spot, and exiled him from the village. And I think this brilliantly illustrates our core lesson here. In the face of arrogant, spiteful competition, simply out-innovating them is your absolute best strategy. Ego completely blinds you to what the customer actually wants, whereas innovation, like being humble enough to listen to a child's feedback about mango noodles, opens up entirely new markets. Okay, let's bring all of this together and see how these 4 street food tales build our ultimate framework for success. Every single dish we explore today serves up a really vital business lesson. Karen's Egg Paratha taught us that pure honesty and actually trusting your customer can create an unbeatable business model. Ajay's Cheese Pillow Paratha showed us that combining an inherited legacy with relentless, gritty hard work allows you to scale incredibly fast. Nagaraj's extreme diet of zero-fat kulchas proved undeniably that discipline and physical health are the baseline for any real productivity. And finally, Kapadia's Mango Maggi proved that a willingness to innovate will always defeat an arrogant ego. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. Looking at your own life, your career, your daily habits, what is missing from your personal recipe for success? Are you operating with total honesty? Are you putting in the hard work to build a lasting legacy? Is your physical health actually supporting your productivity? And are you innovating, or is your ego secretly getting in the way? Figure out exactly what's missing, add it to your mix, and just watch how your own story transforms. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.